Hello, my name is Kirioth, and today we're just going to have a little chat about some of the art in the new article for the Necrons, talking about who are the Zarakan dynasty. And funnily enough, they are Zarek's dynasty. You're shocked, I know, I can hear it from here, the gasps of surprise. Yeah, of course the Silent King has his own dynasty, and that is who these guys are. I'm going to put a link in the description to the article so you can read it properly. The cliff notes are big, powerful, got wrecked whilst asleep, got a bit more wrecked, now big and powerful again. That's pretty much the the cliff notes for it. Spoiler alert, although I'm assuming that you would guess that they were going to come back in force with the Silent King abroad once more. Interestingly, before we get into this, they have pointed out that if you're wondering how to paint this particular dynasty, a new set of paints will be released to help you achieve that aged brass look, alongside our first ever technical paint, formulated to create glowing effects. Obviously, they're going to show that off at some future point. I am super interested to see how the technical paint works, and, well, to see whether the technical paint works. That's the thing that I'm interested in. It'll be interesting to see what they do with it. So, on to the actual subject, the art in this article, because it is quality, right? I really like this stuff. So, this is actually not the first bit of art in the article, but I'm going in reverse order, pretty much, because whilst I like this, I don't like it nearly as much as the other two pieces. The thing I like about this is the focus that it's placed on some of the battle damaged elements, or at least aging elements of the Necron stuff. Now, whether Necrons should have some form of decay over time is a subject for a totally different video, because we could talk for hours about that, because up until this point it's not really been suggested that they break down over time necessarily, or at least it's not been represented in model form. This is the first time that we've had actual decay depicted on this stuff. Should they even decay? Is their metal not living metal? Does it not regenerate automatically? At what point did we go from everyone self-repairing to certain ones being able to just allocate resources and decide who gets what, effectively? Necrons have suddenly had things like this that we can see here. The entire bottom half of the face falling away and splintering and becoming awful and nightmarish, which actually is the thing that I really like. Now, whether or not this should be possible or not, as I say, is a discussion for a totally different video, but I really like the aesthetic of it. And I like the aesthetic for it because it leans a lot more heavily into the undead Xenos robots from space as opposed to the undead space Egyptians, which we've talked a little bit about the fact that when Necrons first showed up in 3rd edition, they were unknowable, unspeakable horrors that showed up and wrecked everything and no one really knew why, which is a fine premise for a force, but a premise that already existed in the form of the Tyranids. The differentiation isn't bad necessarily, but I think in the case of the Necrons, maybe it went a little too far one way than the other, and I'm saying that more now because, well, this looks grand. This is exactly what I kind of didn't realise I wanted to see. Also, how massive is that Scorpec Destroyer Lord right there? What the heck? What an absolute unit. Anyway, so I like that bit of art because it does show that kind of more horror element, that more zombie element to them. I like this more. I like this more because this, I feel like this kind of pretty perfectly encapsulates the Necrons. A vast horde of just zombie robots striding towards you with now, admittedly, more so now, weird, creepy, spindly constructs stalking amongst them, standing pretty damn tall as well. I mean, you already know they're tall, but I like the fact that I think they may well have been given a bit of artistic license in terms of the scale of the Reanimator and the other one that I forget the name of in this image, but it works. It works really, really well. It's not just the numbers of this, though. It's not just the numbers and, you know, that weird image of these really, really creepy, long-legged constructs walking amongst them. It's the background. Whenever I think of a Necron tomb world, my immediate thought is something that looks relatively normal, a planet that maybe it's more arid, maybe it's covered in verdant jungle, whatever it happens to be. Probably there'll be multiple different, biomes and setups. It's not all just going to be one big desert, maybe, depending. But no matter what the background, I always feel like dotted amongst whatever natural features there are things like those huge, whatever they are in the background. When I say monoliths, I'm not talking the Necron unit, I'm talking monoliths, like huge, just buildings and constructed things just dotting the landscape, sitting there looking incredibly intimidating and mysterious and alien, giving the impression of not knowing what they do, but knowing that if they ever actually move, that is really, really bad and you need to leave immediately. I really like that mental image of a landscape dotted with shapes that maybe mean something to the people who place them there, but to everyone else either look random or don't seem to serve a purpose, but they do. I really like this picture because of that, because it does show just the numbers of the Necrons and the kind of inexorable nature of them, with the backdrop of just massive constructed things taking over the entire skyline. I really, really like that. However, the bit of art that I like the most, really, is this one. And I like this one because, again, it's emphasising the horror side of things more. It's again taking that step back from the Space Egyptians, the Tomb Kings approach, and leaning more heavily into the horror side of things. It's difficult to tell what's going on, in a way. I mean, it's safe to assume that looking at this is not a Necron world. This is, in fact, probably an Imperial world. It looks like there's kind of skyscrapers and interesting buildings in the background. I say skyscrapers, hab blocks, whatever you want to call them. And then in this huge trench, which is probably part of the defences of whatever this place is, you've got one of the reanimators stalking around some sort of weird... Is it a ship? Is it a construct? Is it some form of monolith or obelisk? Is it some sort of tesseract arc, maybe? It's difficult to tell, but it's sucking people up through some sort of green beam and disintegrating them. Maybe, in fact, it's firing down. Maybe there's some sort of gravitational effect going on. It's really difficult to tell. It just looks absolutely fucking terrifying. It looks like those end of the world movies where, an alien race descends on the Earth, deploys technology that's completely unthinkable, and absolutely trashes the hell out of literally everybody. It looks like that. And I think that is perfect for the Necrons. Again, there's a bit of battle damage on this first unit with a couple of scarabs attending him. It's kind of difficult to tell what those units are, whether they are warriors, whether they're something else. To be honest, my initial thought for that was, is that some sort of pariah-esque thing? But then I think that's just because it's relatively low detail, this picture. But again, it's that greater emphasis on the horror side of things that I really, really like. And I didn't realise that I wanted it back as much as I did. I didn't realise how much I would like it until they started doing it. If we've got more stuff like this in the Necron Codex, where that emphasis is being placed more heavily on the themes that were present in the first Codex, I can't wait to look through it. I really can't. This is the kind of art that I love seeing from Games Workshop, because it sparks inspiration and imagination. It makes you want to work on that army, to actively do something with it, to emulate the things that you've seen and create something that lives up to the images provided. I just really like them. I think they've done a great job, and I think that shift back towards the original themes of the Necrons is something that I didn't really think I like desperately wanted, but now I'm being presented with them, I can't help but kind of fall in love with them again. Anyway, that was a bit rambly, but yeah, you're used to that here. Has any of this stuff stood out for you guys? Is there any particular piece of art that they've shown off of the Necrons that you've been like, yes, that's the thing, that might tip me over into grabbing some? Are you one of the people who actually prefers the later iterations that kind of moved away from the kind of themes presented in the first codex? Or is this just going back to the thing that you love about this army? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. In the meantime, feel free to click all the things, Patreon, video, subscribe, all that stuff. Click it if you like. Don't click it if you don't want to, obviously. And I'm going to go and sit in front of a fan now because it is like 1,000,000 degrees in this office. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.